Gentlemen in the back.
Tom.
Good evening and welcome to the September 11th, 2013 meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. We're going to begin the meeting with a moment of silence in honor of those victims and friends and families of victims, and actually all of us, for those tragic events 12 years ago. Okay, first item on the agenda are minutes, August 28th, 2013.
I have not seen them.
I haven't seen them either.
Okay, I guess they just came in our packets.
Okay.
So we'll do that next week.
Okay.
I'll
Request,
give you a hard copy.
request for continuance under a determination of applicability. Pinecrest Beach Improvement Association, Lakeshore Drive North, map 2204026000A, East Falmouth, for permission to open a 4-foot path in the existing 10-foot right-of-way for access to Jenkins Pond and to install a split rail fence.
Yes, Madam Chairman, the applicant requests a continuance until September 25th.
So moved. Second. Oh,
Okay? You got that? Motion in 2 seconds? Any questions on the board? Any questions from the audience? Okay, all in favor of the motion on the table, which is a continuance to September 25th, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Request for a determination of applicability to determine whether the proposed work will remove, dredge, fill, build upon, degrade, or otherwise alter an area subject to protection. Hines Penzance Point Realty Trust, 160 Penzance Point, Woods Hole, for permission to conduct repairs to the existing seawall that include cleaning, grouting, and the pointing of stone veneer, all work by hand.
Yes, Madam Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until September 25th.
so moved. Second.
Any questions on the board? Any questions from the audience? Okay, all in favor of the motion on the table, which is a continuance to September 25th, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Next one is Pinecrest Beach Improvement Association, which we just continued to the 25th. Request for hearings under a notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are heard simultaneously under the authority of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. First on the docket today is Jessica Fiedler, 44 Palmet Place, Falmouth, for permission to construct a 5-bedroom, single-family house with an attached garage, porch, patio to install a Title V sewage disposal system, dry wells, utilities, paved driveway, install native mitigation plantings, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen.
Yes, Madam Chairman, I'll hold any comments until after Mr. Porcelli's presentation.
Mike, good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the Commission. My name is Michael Borselli from Falmouth Engineering, and I represent the applicant. We're here tonight asking permission to construct a single-family dwelling at a vacant lot known as 44 Pondlet Place. It's one of the last, if not the last, undeveloped lot in this section of Falmouth. The lot contains approximately 15,000 square feet of land. It is bordered on the southeasterly side by a very small pondlet. Maybe that's why it's called Pondlet Place, I'm not sure, but could be. And there's also a very small bordering vegetated wetland along the edge and a non-eroding coastal bank. The property, while not developed with a house, has had some alteration. There are some paths and some clearing along portions of the lot edges and down in the area near the wetland. The vegetation on the lot is very thick and most, if not all, of the lot is undisturbed with the exception of those areas that are previously altered. I've shown on the plan the no disturbance zone A's from the wetland and coastal bank and the outer buffer zone B's. And we've designed a single-family dwelling on the lot that conforms to your performance standards for work in a buffer zone. And we did that by designing the house such that all of the activities are outside all of the no disturbance zone A's. We're proposing a limit of work that is right along the most landward no disturbance zone A from the top of the coastal bank. There is some work in an outer buffer zone B, which will require clearing of those areas to make way for the house, septic system, and driveway. The house and garage are shown on the plan. There's a porch on the front proposed, and there's an at-grade patio shown adjacent to the house. So we believe that this application as it's designed meets your performance standards. There's a couple of specific areas in 10.18. This isn't a redevelopment project, it's an actual development for the first time, house construction. So the formulas and applications for plant ratios for impervious surfaces really don't apply. In fact, all the work's proposed in outer buffer zone B's only, and your regulations do allow that. There is also a section at FWR 10.18, 10.18 7 E4 that says that the total area of mitigation planting required shall not exceed that which would completely revegetate an area equivalent to the no disturbance zone A. So, in addition to the house construction, if you look on this drawing up here, there's a light green area that's depicting an area that we're proposing to reestablish with native plant material, species from the list, bayberry, size and spacing that is appropriate and expected from you folks, so that upon completion of this project, the entire no disturbance zone A will be completely revegetated, and all that will remain is the work that was done in the outer buffer zone B. The septic system is set back from all wetland resources at least 100 feet. It meets all the standards of Title V and the Town of Falmouth health regulations. We've shown dry wells on the plan. There's little or no regrading of the site, so I think that this is approvable and meets your standards. There is one element on the plan that's a little unique, and Jennifer and I talked about it today. We're showing on the plan that no portion of the structure is within 10 feet of the limit of work, and that's a standard policy that you have because it's difficult to do excavation, staging, workmen in and around edges of structures. If you have that structure less than 10 feet to a limit of work, there's a potential for there to be an encroachment or perhaps a slumping of an excavation. But we are proposing, and because there's little or no room left anywhere on the lot, to have an outside living area in the form of an at-grade patio instead of a deck. It's proposed to be a material such as bluestone, which would require just removal of the topsoil, placement of some stone dust as a bedding material for the bluestone, and the bluestone would be at grade and flush. And that doesn't require any significant excavation, doesn't certainly require any staging. The work can be done by hand. So we thought it was appropriate to substitute a patio for a deck, given that we're limited on the amount of space we have to create an outside area. In my discussions with Jen today, we talked about possibly just to further mitigate against any potential encroachment into the A zone, that it might be appropriate to propose a split rail fence as a permanent boundary along the limit of work. So we're certainly willing to do that, and I could either provide a revised plan, or you could make it a condition. We do not have a DEP file number, so we'll be required to continue it for that reason alone, if not for other reasons. So just wanted to point that out. That's a little unique, and I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman. My concern with the patio is for two reasons. One, because this board is well aware that I'd like to see a 10-foot limit of work. It gives the guys, the contractors on site, the ability to actually do their jobs and construct it. I understand Mr. Verselli's argument about the patio not requiring any staging or excavation with heavy equipment or anything like that. So that's something the board will have to discuss. I would hate to see a patio and then come back under an amendment and do a deck and right back at the same issue. I can just see this kind of spiraling out of control.
It will have to
My
be conditioned properly.
My other concern is with the reality of the use. You have a patio. If you've been on site, it's heavily vegetated. So you're going to have a patio with a wall of vegetation right next to you. And the applicant is going to be comfortable with that. If the patio or the project were redesigned to just give a little bit more room between the patio and the limit of work, they would be able to walk. And I understand, Mike and I discussed this, the ability to walk over the patio to get to the other half of the house. When I look at a project, I also look at how I think that property is going to be used. And I just don't see this as a realistic option to have a patio and then have a wall of vegetation right next to where their grill is or their seating area. So it's something that would concern me, and Mike did say that the installation of the split rail fence might alleviate some of those concerns. So the board can discuss that and make a decision.
Yep.
But that's what I was thinking about when I was looking at the patio. I did give him kudos for giving me the 10-foot limit of work next to the garage, though. So that was a good thing.
That's not memorable enough to put in your notebook.
No, but I did see that, so. Other than that, I really don't have any issues with the project, other than I would probably change a plant species in that area, Mike, from bayberry to something else, but that's not a big deal.
We can condition that.
Yeah, we can do viburnums down there or something like that. I mean, it's pretty heavily invasive.
It's a lot of invasives.
It's a lot of invasives, so, you know, we'll find something other than bayberry.
Tommy?
I have no questions. Personally, I'm comfortable with them doing a patio with, by hand or small machine excavation up to that. If they want to change it, and coming back and doing something different. That's all I have.
Mario?
Just a minor point, you got a lot of porcelain berry on this property. It's a real jungle of it. That's a real bad invasive. You have any plans to maybe take that out and replant it with native species?
Is it in the A zone?
I had it, yeah.
It's all over.
It's really quite a bit of it.
Yeah.
It's really thick too.
Yeah.
And it just, it's just it's
So-
a
What is it
bad
called?
invasive. It has kind of China blueberries. It looks like a grapevine. But it's
I remember
porcelain.
when I first saw it. Remember when it first came in, about 15 years ago? You hardly saw it at all. And
Right,
now you
that's
see
right.
it everywhere.
There's
It's
a lot of
everywhere now.
invasives on that property.
If we were to, I can discuss that and report that to my client, and they may need to hire someone that's more expert on how you eradicate that, and we'd come back for an
Yeah.
amendment for that.
We'll come back. I want to discuss that point also, so we'll circle back to this. Anything else? Mike?
Does the structure have a full basement?
Yes.
It does. earthwork calcs before
Whoa,
they...
I'm sorry. No.
No.
I'm in a flood zone. I cannot have a full basement. I was thinking of my other project.
I can appreciate that. Side. Okay, I'm good.
Tom?
I'm pretty comfortable with the patio. If it was lawn as opposed to patio, somebody would still be walking across it, putting a grill on it. I really don't have an issue with it.
It can be conditioned about the
Yeah,
fact that
with
it won't be
With the split
expanded.
rail, I think
Okay.
putting a border on there, it kind of defines everything that they're using on that. And I will agree with I didn't know the name of
Yeah.
the Happy Crap, but it's in there.
And there's lots of it.
And that's something that I'm sure they can, once they get the ducks in a row, an amendment to do site management would be fine. Outside of that, I have no issues.
Michelle?
Are you proposing any trees for mitigation?
At the moment, no, but we're willing to listen to
You're
suggestions.
certainly thinking about it because you're going to be removing trees in the buffer
Right,
zone.
and we're looking for a little
Yeah, I just
advice.
saw that there's 6 trees being removed. Majority of the trees on the, or at least the larger trees on the property, 100, almost 100 inches TBH added up. That's a significant amount, particularly at 430-inch tree in the driveway. All within the 100-foot jurisdiction. So I would definitely be looking for some trees. No other questions?
That's our advice to you.
Understood. I expected that, but I wasn't sure what sort of, number and size and species that you may.
Somewhere, but species, we can work out with the staff.
Somewhere between
Number?
6 inches, sorry, 6
6
trees and 100 inches
inches.
DBH.
You come back, and if we like what you do, we'll say good, and if we don't, we'll discuss it.
Understood.
Court?
Trees are good. No other questions.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. One is, this is being sold as a waterfront lot because it's waterfront on the pondlet. And so I'm wondering if there's going to be a path to the water.
As of right now, there's no path proposed. And I don't know that there's any real significant need for a path. I would say right now, there's no path proposed, and we will not build one unless we come back for permission. I would like to, I would talk to my client about that.
Okay.
And it might segue into the invasive removal as
Well,
sort
yeah,
of
this all, my comments go down to buffer restoration, needs a boundary at the buffer zone, trees in the B zone. So I definitely would, if this house is, if there's a person who's planning to buy this, I think you should explain that
yes.
invasives are a big problem,
Mhm.
and that it's important to keep this 50-foot vegetated buffer, but we would certainly welcome some effort being put into restoring native vegetation there.
And I will do that, and I'll also say, as of right now, there's no path. If you want to propose a path and do invasive removal, we'll come back for an amendment.
Okay. So we need a date.
And that, Mike, depending on the amount of invasive removal, it may require another notice, not an amendment, but we can discuss that when your client has more of an idea of what they want to do,
Mhm.
because they should consider it.
Mhm.
You're gonna add some trees to the plan, Mike, add that split rail fence. Is that it for changes?
Plus, we're waiting for a DEP
For
final.
the DEP number. When did you submit this to DEP? I'm wondering if we gave you
think 2 weeks
You
would,
want the 2 weeks, you want
would
the
give them
25th? Sure.
time.
Okay.
If you have, if
Um,
the 20, is it
yep.
the 25th?
That's fine.
Is available?
On behalf of the applicant, I move to continue this to September 25th.
Second.
Okay, are there any other questions on the board? Yeah.
Mike, I'm not ever going to ask anybody how to do their project, but if you flip that house, your driveway going east, you alleviate cutting some of those trees. It looks like most of that stuff is on the right. You just flip the
But-
house.
Don't they have to dig for the septic system?
Yeah, the septic system might not have the setbacks then.
Okay.
Which would mean moving the septic, which would mean still taking out, cutting the trees.
Trees, all right, all right. Well, it's a good thought.
It's
A bad thought, but,
wasn't-
you know, it was my
It was a good
thought.
thought, but
All right, bye-bye.
I still might look at it, though.
There you go.
I don't think
I-
you'll get
you
the
know.
patio in there. If you,
but
if you
it's Mike's
flipped it.
project, and he has lots of ideas to
Here,
think
there you
about.
go, there you go.
Okay, before we take the vote, are there any questions from the audience on this project? Anybody want to make any good suggestions for Mike, since he has a couple of weeks to think about this? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table for a continuance to September 25th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. John Billings, 57 Gunning Point Avenue, Falmouth, for permission to construct a 5-bedroom, single-family house with attached garage, porch, patio to install a Title V sewage disposal system, dry wells, utilities, driveway, retaining wall, connect to town water, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping.
Madam Chair, I just need to disclose the fact that my wife is related to the Billings family through marriage. And so while I don't feel that it will impair my objectivity, if the board would be more comfortable, I'm prepared to recuse myself.
I think you have to recuse yourself. I think that's a conflict of interest. So
Thank you, Mike.
you can go out and look at the pictures in the hall.
We get the pretty pictures.
My name is Michel O'Hayan. I live on 61 Gunning Point. I'm the next door neighbor.
Sir, if you have a comment about this project,
Yeah,
you have to wait until we hear it.
well,
And-
I am the direct neighbor of that property.
I know.
I have not been informed of this meeting until 2 hours ago, so I object to the meeting.
Can I see the butter notifications?
I need to be...
One moment, we're
Sir?
investigating that right now, sir. If you can give us a minute, just to see what we have from staff. Thank you.
Mr. O'Hayan?
Yeah,
No, it's on the list, I just don't have the green card for it yet. Mr. O'Hayan, have you been on the Cape
yes,
for this amount of time?
the whole time.
It's been sent to your Chestnut Hill address, because that's your mailing address.
I left Chestnut Hill 2 years ago. I am a resident of Falmouth. I vote in the-
I
in
understand that,
Falmouth.
sir, but this is the information that the assessors has on
But the
the...
fact is that I am not aware of what's happening.
Okay,
This is very important to us, so I need an expert to listen to whatever presentation the fine gentleman is going to make. And I'm
Mr. O'Hayan,
suggesting we postpone it until I hire someone, because the lot is 100% not buildable according to you when I build mine.
Mr. O'Hayan, like I said, you need to talk to the town assessors department, because these engineers get their certified abutters list from the town of Falmouth. So your mailing address has not been changed within the town of
That doesn't
Falmouth.
change the fact that I am not aware, and I'm the most interested party. in this.
I-
Sir, you are the most interested party, but we have 4 or 5 hearings every week, and
Because
we,
only until I get. the
no,
proper
no,
notice.
sir, we're gonna have the hearing. We're ready to have the hearing. If you wanna have somebody listen to it, this is being recorded on FCTV, you can have the person listen to that and put something into the record.
Well, I take exception to your ruling because I think it's not fair to me as a citizen of Falmouth who have been here for 15
Mayor,
years,
could-
paying taxes,
ask.
and I dealt with this commission here, and when
Could-
I went to my lot, which is twice as big or buildable, I was told 100% that lot is not buildable. So I object to the whole, I think I need someone that understands the whole process. I do not want Mr. Brian Wall, whoever.
Mr. Wall is right behind you.
Whoever representing the estate to go through unless I have, you are taking a privilege from me as being the most important person in this room as far as this lot is
Could-
concerned.
Madam Chairman, we don't have a file number.
Yeah.
So we're going to open the
I-
hearing and we're going to continue it. So during the continuance, he can bring in.
I understand.
Thank you for that input, Mike. I'd like to make something clear. We are going to have the hearing tonight. They do not have a number, so there will be a continuance. In that time that there is a continuance, you will be allowed to, you can hire on anybody that you'd like to have. I'd like to know, how did you find out that this was happening 2 hours ago?
Mr. George Billing, my neighbor, told me there is a hearing tonight.
Well, I'm glad that your neighbor informed you, and I'm glad that you're here. This process is not going to end tonight. There is not going to be a decision tonight, so please be settled with that. This process will start, but it will not conclude. What you are going to be given through a continuance with the applicant is time to afford you to get your expert to be able to go through the file. It's not, the ground isn't going to open up, and the permit is not going to be issued tonight. And I can understand and respect that you have not had your green card sent to you. It was sent to the wrong address. This is your time to be able to take and cure that so that all your mail comes to Falmouth, so that will not happen again.
Yeah, you should go to the
Town
assessor's
assessors
office.
and get that fixed,
Well,
sir.
wouldn't it
Have it fixed.
Would it make sense for whoever got the green card to say, well, the most important abuser, or whatever you say it in English, is Michelle O'Hagan, we have not received his, what happened? Does that
And
make any sense?
One other point of interest, just so for the people that are at home, if you'd like to make more comments, would appreciate it if you came up to the podium, all right? Because we don't take comments from the audience, we take them at the podium. That's just the way that we do this. And I want to set you at ease. I don't want you to be upset with
Well,
this.
I'm very upset.
And I appreciate that. I truly do.
We understand that. We understand that all of these hearings, there's a lot of people invested in a lot of aspects of these hearings. But like I say, we have 4 to 5 hearings a week. This is how the system works. It's unfortunate that the town doesn't have your correct address. And I think you should go into the assessor's office. It's down that hall.
My tax bill comes to 61 Gunning Court. How come the town, when it comes to get...
Well, I
money
know,
from me-
we all have those problems. We all have those
And
problems.
you're very, and I gotta reiterate, you're very fortunate there's gonna be a continuance. So you're gonna be afforded the time to rectify all these issues that you have. And from this point on, any other comments will be taken at the podium and not in the audience. Okay? Thank
Now
you.
we're going to move to Jen. Jen, do you have any comments before we begin?
Oh, no.
Mike, good evening.
Good evening. My name's Mike McGrath. I'm a registered engineer and professional land surveyor. I work for Holmes and McGrath. We filed the notice of intent. I have a colored plan. I gave you Xerox copies of the colored plan, one for your file and just one so you can have. This lot is a vacant lot on Gunning Point Avenue. It has frontage on Buzzards Bay. There are several wetland resource areas, obviously land under the ocean. Then there's a coastal beach. There's an area that's a coastal dune. There's an area that's a velocity zone to this, well, there's actually 2 velocity zones. There's one velocity zone that seems to end at the dune, and then there's another one that comes across in a vague line that goes diagonally through the lot here. Then there's an
A10 elevation 19. That is that's where the waves are supposed to be less than 1 foot, and this is the map location of what is supposed to be the 19-foot contour. And what I've done is I put on a blue line that's dashed, and the blue line that's dashed says actual floodplain. And what that means is that when we measure the ground surface in here at the proposed garage, it's below elevation 19. What we are proposing is that there be a single-family house. There's a separate garage, and the reason the garage is separate is this is in a flood zone and the house is not. So, and then on the street side of the location of the proposed house, there's a septic system with a soil absorption system. We have put a work limit line that is basically on the top of the mathematical coastal bank that we have transects that are shown. So I believe that this conforms to your regulations, and I think that this is an approvable project. As I discussed earlier, I don't see that there's been a file number issued, so we have to continue this because DEP's not issued a file number. A file number is just the DEP acceptance of the notice of intent under the Wetlands Act. So are there any specific questions I can answer concerning the project?
Jen?
Mike, can you explain why you don't have a buffer to the coastal bank?
Yes.
Sorry if I missed it, I'm sorry, I was reading something.
That's just the question I put down.
Because I'm looking at 10.183E. I understand what the argument your staff made, but Madam Chairman, can you look at 318.3E in your regs?
1018.
1018, I'm sorry. Thank you.
1018.3?
1018, I'm sorry,
Five.
5.3E. Look under the width of no disturbance shall be 50 feet, and look at number 3. I understand that argument that Mr. McGrath is about to make, but check that one as well.
Yeah, that's the one I asked you about.
Yeah, and I was focusing on the other one. Okay, Mike.
What I just did is I have Xeroxed off a portion of your most current wetland regulations. Specifically, I've given you a portion of 10.18.4 that says the width of a no disturbance zone A shall be 25 feet for the following resources: not eroding coastal banks, not in a velocity zone with a slope greater than 4:1, and not adjacent to other wetland resource areas as defined in FWR 1021A through E, but within 100 feet of other coastal resources as defined under FWR 10.02A through E. If you look at the transects, this coastal bank is always less than 4:1. So we believe that it's very clear from your own regulations that there's no requirement for a resource area buffer adjacent to this landform.
It's in a velocity zone.
No, it isn't. The velocity zone's at the base of it. This
Where's the
portion,
Falmouth velocity zone?
oh, you're going to put the 25-foot. But at the same time,
Did you get that, Susan?
it's,
I think we were focusing on the butt. Yep, go on.
in the Falmouth, it adds the 25-foot areas to,
Which goes-
which is supposed to be the thickness, and it touches the base of this coastal bank.
Oh, that's number 2 of the 3 explanations for the Falmouth velocity zone.
We went through this before, and I was told I did not have to file any more testimony, that what I what I wrote in the notice was correct. I will file more testimony.
Mike,
But what I will clearly say to you is the Supreme Court has basically said, you can't take the last lot and decree
Mike.
that it somehow causes
Mike,
environmental.
if you don't meet,
Mike, I would
you
like
have
you
your
to answer
lawyer
a question
here.
for me.
If you don't meet performance standards, Mike, you know what the procedure is.
Mike, can you
What
go
I will
into-
do
Mike,
is-
can you do me a favor? Can you read, you gave us this yellow thing, and I just picked up on something, and I'll have to discuss it with you after, most likely tomorrow. But on the page you gave us, where you highlighted number 4, if you go back and look at 1018.3, which is on your page, because you have it under E, it says all other coastal banks adjacent to other resource areas as defined in FWR 10.0 to 1A through E, and other than those listed above. Wouldn't this coastal bank meet that because it borders a coastal dune
And the beach.
and the beach?
Let's go through the coastal bank again. If you look at the transects, we have a coastal bank that goes in here,
Yeah, I know, and then it jogs down.
and
Yep.
then it jogs down.
Yep,
So if you look, we have marked that there's a greater resource area buffer on the adjoining lots, because that portion of the coastal bank meets that requirement. So,
While you're there, why don't you put the Falmouth velocity zone? Why don't you mark that?
So basically,
you can see
Mike,
that
you just
this whole
took that
coastal bank
line.
is in it.
okay, I have
that's two
I have
people
a
talk at
question.
once.
No,
I
but,
don't do what Betsy said first.
all right, sorry.
Thank you.
Now, when reality, what you're saying is that line is that thick.
Bless you.
Jen?
Okay, Mike, so I see where you have your 50-foot FWR Zone A line, right? So you basically took a ruler, right, Mike? I'm illustrating over here. You took a ruler on your line and you went straight up like that,
Yes.
right? So you just basically took it and said, okay. So when you're designing a house and you're looking at the closest point of the resource area to your structure, you pivot. You're not pivoting here. So take that, where you have that, where the letter C is, and pivot it out. I mean, it comes into the house. I understand what you're attempting to do, but it's not,
Here.
see? Mike is saying that the resource area buffer is 50 feet because he's going like that and saying, oh, this is the only part of the coastal bank that matters, so here's your 50-foot buffer. But if you take that and pivot it that way and go a 50-foot shot this way, it goes into the house.
Minimally.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just putting that up to the board so you can decide which regulation you feel applies in this case. I think I know I've talked to Holmes and McGrath. I did talk to Jeff, was kind of mulling over their argument, but I think we, in my discussions with him, we overlooked the E, and I think that may apply in this case, unless there's a valid argument why it doesn't. And I don't agree with the argument that you just go straight across.
It's a 50-foot.
And I would
Top of
be,
the coastal bank. That 50-foot line is supposed to be to the top of the coastal bank?
This
Yeah.
one goes from the top.
So it goes to
Just a straight line.
just, yeah, that goes outward that way instead of going this way.
yeah, look at that. That's your coastal bank.
Yep.
That's your house. That's what Mike is saying the 50-foot is, instead of swinging it out like that and going out. They just took this line and went straight up like that. Yeah,
This is actually
and-
sweet.
Yes. Because when you're looking at the closest point of a house to a resource area, we always get that big arc. They're saying that this doesn't
That's
apply.
at a minimum
Yeah.
if the Falmouth velocity
Yeah.
zone is not considered.
Yeah, I'm still stuck back in the
Right.
Falmouth velocity zone.
It's easier to look at this point where the coastal
doesn't
bank is,
say-
because it kind of took me a minute to figure out where the bank was.
You know, it doesn't say in these
Sorry, Mike.
regulations that it says the FEMA zone.
Right.
So those are the comments the staff has, so the board can decide. And if it doesn't meet the setbacks, regardless of whether or not it is the last lot on site, we've seen that multiple times in the past couple of years, and there is a process to going forward with that.
Well, I'm confused about one other thing,
Okay?
and that is, even if, I understand your argument about the 50-foot zone, 50-foot, but even if it was a 25-foot setback, which is what Mike gave us this paper, I don't see a 25-foot setback to the coastal bank.
Because Mike is saying there is not a 25-foot setback because the slope is less than 4 to 1. Am I correct, Mike?
Yes.
Yes. You're saying the regulation doesn't apply, that there is no buffer, because the Homes and McGrath is focusing on, they feel that 1018-4 applies in this case, where you're saying 1018-3E applies in this case. So you need to look at your regulations, and we're saying we could put it's a dune. Land subject to coastal storm flowage does not fall within 10.021A through E, but a coastal dune does. So, so,
Okay, are there any other questions? So tonight, we're just finding out what is being proposed tonight, and if Mike wants to make any modifications for the next time, he can.
I have
Yes.
some questions. So you're filling to raise the garage up out of the flood zone. Is that
Yes.
currently the flood zone is at the 19?
Yes.
And because it's a coastal flood zone, your standing is that it's not going to cause any problems with surrounding neighbors in
If-
terms of redirection of flood.
If you look at the contours, we basically have higher ground on this side. The elevation here is, this is a 19-foot contour comes in and out, so this is always higher, it's a 20-foot contour here. So we show that there's still lower than the lower one here, we show them to be 18, and that's to be 20, so there's, we're not going to convert any floodwaters there. The only way that this can be up to elevation 19 is if the waves store water, because there's still water in Buzzards Bay is 14 at this location. I don't know if you understand what I just said.
I do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I do see that with your regrading, you are trying to swale the runoff along that property boundary. I think where it is going to change in terms of drainage versus the existing condition is when you're close to what you have marked as the reserve area, actually the grades there look like some of the runoff from this property will be directed into the neighboring property. It's a little hard to tell because your existing contours don't go far into the other property, but that's one area where
So
you might want to,
I'll clarify the grading between the proposed retaining wall and the property line.
yeah, I think
Yep.
you would want to try to keep all that on your own property.
Yeah,
think
I
others
agree.
would
There's no
probably-
bylaw requires it.
And it looks like you're pitching the proposed driveway runoff towards, just out to the road. There's no
Yes.
proposed stormwater capturing anything?
No.
Now, is that okay with the public, with DPW? And, I mean, it's not insignificant amount of water going out to that road.
I can reshape it so that it pitches around to the back of the garage by a surface.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna
wall.
swale,
Yeah.
you could use that instead. Okay, those are my questions.
Is that part of the same zoning bylaw? Whether it went to the neighbors or went out to the public road?
I would think so, yeah.
Mike, wouldn't that be part of the same zoning bylaw? Whether it goes into the neighbors or out into the public road?
It's up to the DPW engineering department to accept the driveway design. So the provision I'm talking, I'll have to check.
Okay,
Oh, that's it for now.
is that it?
Yes.
Okay. Tom?
No questions at this time, chewing on a lot.
Mike?
There's a right-of-way shown on the north side, indicated on the right.
No.
No.
There's a path on the north side.
Okay.
There's a right-of-way along Buzzards Bay.
There's a path along here. Right away along here.
What does the words right, if there is a, is that path recognized in some way other than, you say something existing?
There's an existing path that starts
Right.
here
I
and
found
goes
that.
out. If you've been to the site, it says no trespassing,
Right,
used by permit only.
right.
The Billings family has owned this, and they owned other houses. This is the way they got to the beach, I'm sure.
But it's not a public right of way,
It's not a
is what
No,
you're
there's
saying.
no
not-
deeded rights. The
Okay.
only deeded rights are down here.
Good point.
I don't
Okay.
see any.
Anything else?
I've never seen them. Yeah.
Are you?
I'm done, I'm good.
Mario?
This is a very heavily vegetated coastal bank. Vegetation seems to be upwards of 15 feet high. Any plans that you're aware of to open up a view shed to gain water, the water view, or any plans to improve or widen that path to access the dune water system?
Actually, when I went down and looked up, I thought this house was going to be high enough to look over most of the vegetation, to be blunt, because as the ground surface starts, the plants rise in height. So all of the big vegetation's up by the house.
So the house will be high enough so that vegetative clearing, corridor, view shed will not be necessary?
No, if it's, the way that this works is we always come in for an amended order once the building's built, if we're going to propose to do any visitors. So, and the reason we do that is so that we'll have the building there before we start creating you allow 25-foot wide corridors. And traditionally, we've waited until
So in other words,
The building's built.
you build a structure and then file an amended
yes,
notice for vegetative
for the
pruning?
vistas.
After we actually recommend that,
Yeah.
because otherwise people come in for vegetated pruning, and then they build the house, and they say, oh, well, that's not where we really wanted it.
Yeah,
We want it over here.
okay. All right. I'm all set.
Not until I revisit.
Oh, okay. Do you have cut and fill calcs?
No,
Will you give them to us?
sure. I mean, I don't show that much filling. I show a minor filling at the driveway and underneath the garage. There's going to be material coming out of at the septic system. We have to mine down and remove the impervious soils down to the sand layer. So there'll be some material come out of that. But we're not talking a lot of yards. There might be 300 yards here, maybe.
Right, I'd just like to know.
Yep.
Also, speaking of the vegetation, the trees that I saw were going to be where, since we're on to kind of trees, that's sort of a theme today, where the house is, Mike? Is that correct?
Pardon me?
You're going to have to remove trees to put the house?
Yes.
And that's the B zone to the coastal bank?
I don't admit that there's an A zone and B zone past the top of the coastal bank. So the way that I look at it is we can do the work. So and I'm going
Mike,
to come back
it just
and file
says-
testimony.
All this says is the width of the no disturbance zone might be such and such if the slope is such and such. It doesn't say there's not a buffer. And one of the things I have when I first read yours is you mentioned various resources, and you're well aware of the fact that buffers are a resource as defined in the Falmouth Wetlands Regulations. There is a buffer to a coastal bank. There's a top of a coastal bank. 100 feet landward of that top of the coastal bank
Then
is the buffer.
Then apparently I'm not reading this correctly, the one that was adopted in 2010. I thought the one in 2010 was supposed to clarify these buffers to coastal banks.
Mike, but what about your own plan says a 50-foot buffer zone A to the top of that coastal bank that's adjacent to the coastal dune?
That's
How do you
because
ex-
that coastal bank by slope goes all the way down to the base. And there's
Yes.
an area that's not a coastal bank and land subject to coastal.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the area that is adjacent to the coastal dune. How do you explain just taking that buffer and making it basically, just extending it up the bank? We've never seen any of the engineers before us do that.
All right, I will,
You need to swing that,
All right.
you know? So,
so what you're saying is this lot's
but,
not
and
buildable.
that's if the board accepts that, you're separating this coastal bank into two parts.
Then I'll come in and
Basically what you're
address
doing.
the presumptions of
Okay.
the buffers, because no matter what, nobody else has the buffer.
Nobody else where?
Nobody else on the road has the buffer.
Oh, Mike, we hear that argument all the time for every vacant lot, and there's, as Betsy says, there's a process to follow. Our regulations are the regulations, and there are certain procedures to follow if your project doesn't meet them.
I understand.
Or procedures, I'm sorry, avenues to follow if your project doesn't meet them, that's more correct.
Mike, you're going to need a continuance.
We've already established that early.
Right, we established that early. Now, let's establish the date, because I know we have some people in the audience here who want to make sure that they're here for the next hearing.
How long do you think you might need, Mike?
I would need 3 weeks.
3 weeks, so you're looking at the 2nd of October? The 9th of October?
Whatever is convenient for the
1,
commission.
2, 3,
The
No.
9th, the
Ninth.
9th is convenient.
what was that?
The 9th is
On
convenient.
behalf of the applicant, I move to continue this project till October 9th.
Second.
Any other questions on the board? Mike, I'm going to open it to the audience, but any other questions?
No, I have no.
Mike, comments?
Thanks, Mike.
Don't go away, Mike. There might be, people might have questions for you. Any questions from the audience before we vote on the motion on the table, which is a continuance until October 9th? No questions? Everybody's going to come back for the second part of this?
Oh, yeah.
You have a question? Oh, then put your hand up. Sir, please come up to the microphone.
First of all, I want to apologize for perhaps what seemed to be my reaction to what I said before.
Sir-
So I want to apologize to all of you.
Thank you, and apology accepted. But we need to know who you are first.
My name is Michel O'Hare. So I hardly understand English, and the English spoken tonight, of course, to me it sounds Chinese. Therefore, I need an expert to understand that. So that's why I wanted to have someone here on my behalf, which I will do. But I will have couple questions. And this question might not be appropriate, again, because I don't understand the process and I don't understand how these things work.
Yeah, you ask me the question, and then I'll pass it on to the person who's going to answer it, or I'll tell you that
Okay.
we're not going to do that.
The first question is, what's the square footage of this house?
That's a fair question. Mike? Some of your questions we might not answer until October 9th. I mean, normally, you know, we ask for dimensions, and normally we'll just roughly do what it is, but that's certainly an appropriate question. Mike's going to give you a rough answer.
Yeah, it's, the first floor is about 2,000 square feet, so theoretically it could be 4,000.
How many bathrooms?
Well, it's by bedrooms, and it was a 5-bedroom.
So it's five bathrooms.
Well, we don't know how many bathrooms.
Does
He
the,
doesn't have to tell us. I don't know if he knows.
Mr. O'Hayan, septic designs go on bedroom counts.
It goes by bedroom.
So we
Okay.
we're not, until we see the architecturals, we won't know how many bathrooms.
my last question is whether you will agree to postpone the October 9th, as I have a conflict, I have to be for a family function in France on the 10th. And I would like to
Could
be
we do
here.
the 16th?
That would be up to the applicant.
It's up to the applicant, because he's the one who requests it. 16th of October?
My client has a conflict on the 16th. Why don't we change it to October 2nd?
Because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 2 of the 6 may not be here, and that would be 4, and then if something happened to somebody, we wouldn't have a quorum.
Oh, September.
Sorry for the wait. Brian Wall, I represent the applicant as well. We'll take the 16th. There's a lot of complications. My client has travel plans, but we can arrange the 16th.
16th?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Everybody going to be here on the 16th?
I'll make a
All right.
motion to amend my original motion
Yeah.
to October 16th, and gratefully so from the applicant. Thank you
Thank you.
for your considerations.
Second.
Okay, so now we have a motion and a second on the table for a continuance to October 16th. Are there any other comments from the audience at this point? Otherwise, I'm going to call for the vote. Okay, all in favor of a continuance to October 16th, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, Courtney, I almost forgot about you. All right. Crowley Crowley Family Trust, 18 Park Road, Woods Hole, for permission to relocate a portion of the existing block retaining wall, removal of fill, relocation of the existing shed, a proposed fence, removal of invasive vegetation, installation of native tree and shrub restoration planting, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman. One quick. Mike, are we looking at a revised plan date of September 4th?
Yes.
Okay, no questions at this time, Madam Chairman.
Okay, Mike, good evening again.
Thanks, Mike.
Do you have any extra ones, Mike? Could you give one? Right there, to Jane. Thanks, Mike. Thank you.
My name is Mike McGrath. I'm a registered engineer and professional land surveyor, and my office prepared the notice of intent for Crowley Family Trust. Woods Hole can be unique, to say the least. I didn't even know there was a park road in Falmouth, that not only there is a park road, but it's public. This is the ball field, and the Catholic Church is right here, and Millfield Street's down here. And there's a pond called Mill Pond, and this lot, it's a small lot. The wetland resource areas are that there's a pond, land under water bodies, there's a bordering vegetated wetland, and there's 2 flood zones that cut through the area as shown or colored on the plan. There is, we're doing a whole host of activities. This is for sale, and there's been they've straightened out the utilities. The utilities come in from Millfield Street, including public sewer. There's a proposed shed here, and they're going to reset the shed so that it conforms to zoning, because it's been built too close to this property line. There was a shed here that's been removed. There was an old enforcement action from 2006 that talked about removing this and replacing, removing this block wall. The block wall was actually built on the town street layout. So what the activity then is to take the wall and move the wall over and in this area. There is a certain amount of resource area buffer that has to be planted because of this shed is in, or an alteration or increase of the area is in a zone B. So there's a small area here that that is going to be mitigation plantings. But if you look at the area, it's completely overgrown with garlic mustards plant. It's an invasive. It's nasty in a lot of ways. There's also a bunch of Phragmites in here. And so what we have agreed to do is basically this whole area is going to be restored. There's going to be a path left. There's going to be some more plantings in here to restore an area that was disturbed. So the majority of the activities on site have to do with the plantings. There's a tree here that, I don't know if you've seen the site, but the tree is got low-hanging branches, so there's not much going to be planted underneath the tree. Most of the plantings is on the outside, around the tree. So are there any specific questions I can answer concerning this?
Is that the tupelo you're talking about? Where you have a
There's only one tree in that
bullseye?
area.
All right, okay.
Yes, it's a tupelo.
Jen?
No, I know that Mark and Jeff worked together to finalize the planting plan, so that was nice to see. Mark's reviewed the project. He was dealing with it from an old enforcement action. Mike, the only question that has been raised is why you're differentiating between bordering vegetated wetland and the hydric soils limit. I've seen that on 2 plans now. And basically, that hydric soil limit would have been your bordering vegetated wetland had it not been disturbed, correct?
But historically though, this here has always been lawn. So while it's hydric from soil type, it's been lawn for a long time. So is the ball field.
No, I understand that, but you
Jen's
see,
question-
you're
Jen's question was,
you're making a big distinction.
It would have been BVW had it not been
Had it not been lawn.
disturbed and maintained this way.
That's right.
Yeah, so I think.
Historically, it's been lawn, so I wasn't going to call it a well.
Well,
No, Jen's question was,
if the lawn
Would it
wasn't
be-
there, would it be a wetland? And if it was native plantings, would it be a
If this
wetland?
was virgin ground, never been
Yes.
altered by man, that would be a well.
Okay, and that's what I'm saying, is some of the commissioners are concerned with the distinctions between these hydric soil limits and bordering vegetated wetlands, when in fact, that would be considered a wetland. It's just a statement. So it's something to think about going forward, Mike, that I don't want to see these limits of hydric soil. Stop smirking.
Well, I'm not smirking.
You are smirking. So,
We've actually done this several times in Woods Hole. There was the house that got moved across the street.
no, the one I'm thinking of most recently is, what's the North Falmouth, 42, what is it, Brainerd? When we did that.
Oh, right.
Yeah, 42 Brainerd, we had that limit of hydric
that
soils
Mike?
because that had been
Oh.
historically
what was
lawn.
Raoul was here for that.
Yeah, so,
You sent
it's just
Raoul
a
in on
statement,
that
Mike. I've just heard from some of the commissioners, I'm just letting you know. Other than that, it was, as I said, Mark's reviewed this, they made some modifications to the plant list. It's a nice plant list now, and I have no issues with the proposed location, shed location. That's it.
Courtney,
No question.
Michelle,
No questions.
Tom.
Most mosquitoes ever in my life. I ran to my car when I get down to the waterfront. I have never
I
been,
had no
It
trouble.
must be your beard because.
it was,
they bother
I
you
have
all.
never been accosted by mosquitoes as bad as I had there.
We got a notice today, sent out to everybody that the Quisic campus was filled with mosquitoes and to take precautions.
Well, there was a lot.
I'm serious. I was there at 6 o'clock and at 5:30 and I wasn't bothered. I didn't see you.
I went yesterday and I didn't see any.
Well, despite the costing of myself, when you say the Woods Hole is unique, it truly is. This is a nice little spot, and that is an old shed. The smaller one of the two, that's pretty cool.
I couldn't help but note that Mill Pond is surrounded by sewers, but look at the water flow. God.
Moving on. Mike, do you have any questions?
Where is the property line on the north side? Or whatever, the side facing the Park Road?
Park Road? No, the north side's over here, up here.
Of the property line?
Pardon
So
me?
we're doing, I guess where I'm coming from is
Oh.
we're doing,
We're restoring work that was done off their property on the town land.
and that's been allowed.
Do we have permission to do that?
I'll make sure that the DPW issues a permit.
Don't have it right now, I'll talk to DPW.
All right,
Okay.
that'll have to be a condition.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. I
mean,
like, by the way, I like it.
We would
like that.
encourage it, but
I like the idea. I'm all for it. We've told other people you can't do that, so I'm just making sure that's what's good for.
Planting in the
group.
road layout, I think they're attempting to address an old enforcement issue down there.
Plus, we're moving something that
Yeah, I-
is in the road layout, we're moving it out.
right.
So I believe we're doing the right thing in the long run.
I do. I'm just
Just
telling
wants
you
to
that
make sure that
we're
all the
consistent as a board.
I's are
So,
dotted and the T's are crossed.
There you go.
Basically, we don't allow mitigation to kind of be in,
Road layouts.
in road layouts. This
But-
is kind of
but
a
we
rest.
encourage people to
Well, this
plant
is
there, but that's
restoring
not-
what was
right. Illegally, right.
altered. So it's not as if someone is actually placing their
Trying
mitigation
to get credit
plantings
for that.
within the road layout, which could be removed. The town
Right.
could go and remove the
The road
restoration
isn't going to
plan.
go further.
Yeah, you see
west in
where
any
I'm
event,
I'm
for the
making
north.
that distinction, Mike, is the board has been consistent not to allow mitigation plantings. You are absolutely right
Yeah,
within a
that's
road
it.
layout. This is not for mitigation, it's more restoration.
And by the way, I did donate blood professionally while I was at that site.
Mario?
Yeah, I echo Jennifer. You know, Mike Ball's the best in the business. So I actually compliment you on hiring him, because he does great work. And he established the hydric soil limit according to looking at hydric soils and wetland hydrology. Obviously, the original wetland vegetation was removed, and you know, under state and local law, if you don't have vegetation to work with, you must look at the other parameters, which is hydric soil and wetland hydrology. So you really need to bring that BBW line up to that line of hydric soils, and, you know, that'll affect zone A and B from that line. So I think that's got to be done. Else people would be incrementally filling wetlands and constructing lawns and saying, all of a sudden, voila, I got an upland that used to be a wetland. Can't do it.
I will stand by my testimony that if you start digging holes in Woods Hole all over the place, the soil's hydric. The ball field's hydric. I went a long time ago when I first started talking about hydric, and I dug 3 holes in the ball field. I fixed them, but believe me, the ball field's hydric.
It's good that you said that, in case somebody comes and claims they get a broken ankle from,
It was also, let me think, 8, 9, 10 years ago.
well,
I don't see there's a limit of, a time limit on this. It's filled wetland, so the BVW needs to come up to the hydric soils limit, period. I mean, that's, we've been delineating wetlands a long time, Mike.
That's the
and you know that.
definition.
If the vegetation's
Mario's
removed,
correct.
you gotta look at
That's the
hydric soils.
Yeah.
the
I mean,
definition.
he's correct. That's why I said, you know, it's the second time, the first one I could, you know,
Do we have
No.
a DEP number for this?
No, I don't think so. I didn't see it.
yes, we do.
Oh.
18 Park,
That is correct.
Well, if we do close it,
3951.
then we-
Should,
but we need a new plan.
We need a new plan.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
the
according to
information.
our little research, Mike,
have
you do
information
have
that
a
was submitted
DEP
by
number.
the-
Correct.
I don't have my email right here, so I can't check.
What?
Check in the file, ma'am.
About,
Mike, can you see if we got the DEP form? Melanie has it on her list that we do have a file number for this, so.
oh, you
Do
see
we have the
here?
notice
Should be a-
from DEP?
should be a-
So you want to just change this line of delineation, or change the plan?
Change the plan to,
The
instead of
plan,
hydric
where
soil,
it says
say,
hydric soil, should say BBW.
We have a,
Right, that's,
Yes, we do.
But
yeah.
I think it's submitted afterwards. It doesn't change the project.
It doesn't
It's just-
change
change the
anything to do with
project.
Yeah, it
the
doesn't change the project
Okay.
at all.
But
That's my question.
the reason Mario is emphasizing this is that it could affect any project,
Right.
you know, as you go in the future.
Right.
It doesn't change this
What they're gonna
particular
do here.
project.
right, right. I just think it's important to accurately show the resource areas.
Yeah.
If not for this project, for future work. you know.
Absolutely.
Right,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Tommy.
I would make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
second.
Any other questions on the board? Any questions from the audience? Jane? Jane, you have to come up and tell us who you are. I know who you are, but maybe other people don't.
My interest is in the roadway that runs...
Jane, you have to give us your name first.
Jane McLaughlin. I'm interested in the roadway that runs in front of that property. It's called Park Road, although it's been called Bell Tower Lane for 50 years or more. But in any case, I'm just wondering why there are more planting being proposed for the roadway. As it is, there has not been access to the pond for some time because of growth that has gotten out of hand there. That's my particular.
Yeah, the town does, and if it's a right-of-way,
Right.
then,
I believe we're duty bound to restore that area. It was altered, so that's why we're showing it.
did there used to be a pathway to the pond there? Did there used to be a pathway to the pond?
It's supposed to be access to Mill Pond, yes. It's a 40-foot wide roadway.
Well, but there are a lot of roadways that are all vegetated, and we,
Yes, but there should be access through the pond, and,
so then, I'll have Jen talk to DPW, because it's a town layout,
yes,
and so it's DPW who would
yes.
maintain that.
I know that in Joe Meadows' booklet on access to pond, that should be clear right through there.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah, that's my only.
That's in my next generation. I want to revisit that booklet, Mike.
You could either condition it that we leave a 4-foot path along the edge of the existing clearing. We could easily do that.
Okay, and I'll talk with,
We just would have to reshape it where we take up the wall.
okay. Okay, any other questions? We have a motion and a second on the table to close this hearing and take it under advisement with Mike. You'll have to give us a new plan and probably indicate, well, two things. One, indicate BBW line, and also indicate a pathway.
All right, you want me to include the pathway and the revision?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
all right.
then we'll talk to DPW and we'll
Yes.
explain that.
Yeah.
And you have to talk to DPW, so you can explain it to them. Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table to close this hearing and take it under advisement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, unanimous, so moved. Oh, you must be McDougal's. That must be next. McDougal's Cape
Easy.
Cod Marine Service, Inc., 145 Falmouth Heights Road, Falmouth, for permission to remove and replace the existing concrete apron adjacent to the travel lift pier, to repair several steel tie rods supporting the travel lift pier bulkhead and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping.
Madam Chair, I need to recuse myself.
Okay. Thanks, Michelle. This is hefty, but it doesn't set the record.
It's close.
It's close, though.
It's
This
close.
is probably
You're in
second.
contention.
What was that project?
David Martin and
What was it?
condo complex.
The
Oh,
condo,
the condo.
Falmouth,
Yes,
Falmouth,
okay.
Falmouth Manor or whatever.
You're going to have to work.
Falmouth.
We're going to have to work at it.
Yeah.
Being second is okay, really. We try harder. My name is Peter Sullivan. I'm a civil engineer, and my office is in Osterville. I have with me Tom Staton. He is the general manager of McDougal's Cape Cod Marine Services, Inc. I provided an aerial to give you an overall perspective of the site. As you know, McDougal's is located on Hyannis Center Harbor, and it's bounded by Falmouth Heights Road and Graven Road to the south. Our area of focus tonight for this filing is the concrete apron, which is adjacent to the marine lift and the travel lift pier. The concrete apron is associated with the wash water recycling system. And what's happened is this is a plan view of the apron, the slip, and the concrete apron. What's happened is that the apron has settled approximately 3/10 of a foot adjacent to the bulkhead. And as a result of that settlement, the 3 southerly tie rods have popped. So what we're proposing to do is to repair those 3 tie rods. In the process, I've given you a pretty detailed description in the narrative, but in general terms, what we're proposing to do is to excavate a 40 by 35-foot box around the pad, saw cut the apron, remove the pad, remove the fill, and expose the tie rods. At that point, what we're going to do is drive timber oak piles. They will be used to support the slab once it's repoured. We'll repair the 3 tie rods, put the fill back in, and then repour the concrete pad. The end result will be exactly what this commission approved under the original project, and I believe it's SE 25-3009, or back in 2006. So very simply, the end product will be the exact same thing as you see today, except it will be 3/10 of a foot higher. Fill will be, the excavated material will be stockpiled behind a work limit in the adjacent area. The intent is to reuse all of the good structural fill, which we believe it all is. If we do encounter any unsuitable material, that will be removed off-site. And that quite simply is it in a nutshell. I'll do best to answer questions.
Pretty straightforward.
Yes, ma'am.
Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I met with the applicants, the representatives, earlier and discussed the project, and I don't have any questions or concerns really. It needs to be done.
Yeah. Tommy?
No questions.
Mario?
I think it would be good for water quality in the house.
Yep. Mike?
There's two comments. First, there's plenty of area. Looking at that 620 square foot of area, you should have no problem. And the runoff seems appropriate, production seems right. And 2, the yard is kept beautifully. To think that anything would go wrong seems minimal to me. Congratulations.
He wouldn't want to have to come visit us again.
No. but
Although
I
you're
mean,
always welcome.
You're more than welcome. But I guess my point is with some applicants, you have to think more than others, and it's just a beautifully maintained facility.
We try. Thank
You certainly do.
Bob?
I'm going to mirror Mike's comment. I was greeted kindly and given a methodology on site. I'm too impressed by the stewardship of the property, and I have the highest confidence that this project will be done completely and to every point taken. That's it.
Courtney?
you. Good project, no comment.
So the big question is, do we have a DEP number?
No. Sorry, Peter, how about we just continue? Well,
Yeah, well, it's
that
the
was
state.
DEP's
It's the
job.
state, DEP.
How about we can continue for a week and give Christina Diaga a call and see if you can get her to issue one?
that
I
would be
mean,
great.
that's fine. I mean, we don't need any revisions to the
Yeah,
plan,
you don't
so
have
if
to
you
come-
wanna,
as
if you wanna
much as
try for a
we'd love
week
to have you
and
visit
hopefully
again,
you
you
can
don't
give
have
her a
to come
call.
back.
Right, I will. I'll do that tomorrow.
Okay, great, because I
Super.
know you were corresponding with her back and forth about other aspects of the project, so.
Yes.
All right.
I will tickle her.
On
So,
behalf,
because it's our policy not to close anything until we have the DEP issued, number issued.
on behalf of the applicant, I'd like to continue this for 1 week to September 18th.
Second.
Okay, any other questions? Any questions from the audience? Okay. Motion on the table is a continuance to September 18th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Thank you very much. Now, I hope Mike doesn't give us a problem. We're almost to the end. Richard and Jill Guidi,
No pressure.
Pardon me?
No pressure.
Oh. 230 Acapesket Road, East Falmouth, for permission to raise, R-A-Z-E, the existing dwelling and construct a single-family house with detached garage, decks, terraces, outdoor
no, I didn't.
shower, bluestone entrance, dry wells, utilities, gravel driveway, relocate the septic tank, change the location of an existing retaining wall, remove brick patio and gravel railroad tie strips, replace with bluestone, high steps and replace with bluestone, connect water and electric to dock, regrade lawn area, and reconstruct existing retaining wall, remove railroad ties, and replace with 3-foot-high stone wall, restore salt marsh area and associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I will save any of my comments until after Mike's presentation.
Thank you, Mike. Good evening again, Mike.
Good evening again. For the record, Michael Borselli, Falmouth Engineering, and I represent the applicant, Richard and Jill Keaty. I prepared the plans and notice of intent application that was submitted to you. There were other plans submitted to you by Blue Flax Design, Teresa Sprague, that relate to planting and other management activities in the buffer relative to vegetation and landscape design. And Teresa is unable to be here tonight because of a family obligation, but she had informed me that she had gone over it with Jennifer in fairly significant detail. But if there are questions, we don't have a DEP file number, so we're continuing it. We're continuing it in any event.
How
but
exciting.
if it's okay, I would like to just present the engineering
Yeah,
plans
that's fine.
and make sure there's no other, if there are other issues, we can resolve them all on them.
You know,
One,
I have another issue.
I don't know that yet, but I guess I do now. So
Oh, yeah.
we represent the applicant who, you have seen this property on a previous application. They received an order of conditions to rebuild the existing pier. They have done that. Part of the pier reconstruction included restoration of a salt marsh that had been degraded by the previous owner to the Guidis, and there was an opportunity to try to restore that. Part of what Blue Flax Design has proposed addresses that. So we had originally proposed to restore the salt marsh, but from what I understand, the salt marsh is healing itself and restoring it, and so the Blue Flax Design plans sort of address that in a different way. That being said, what I would like to do is propose to talk about the redevelopment aspects of the project, because this is, in my mind, a classic redevelopment project in accordance with your regulations, because the applicant's proposing to demolish and rebuild the structure in almost the same location and almost the same footprint, but in some ways that are different and actually improve things. So there's an existing single-family dwelling on the property at 230 Acapesket Road. It has frontage on Green Pond. There's a salt marsh system, beach, the dock I referred to, and there is a coastal bank on the property, as well as a portion of it is within land subject to coastal storm flowage. A11, elevation 11, from this position east towards Green Pond. And as with all of these types of redevelopment projects, I explain to clients that there's two very basic rules. You can't go closer than you are to wetland resources, and if you make it bigger, you're likely to have to do mitigation planting. And we typically work with an architect to design a project to meet those standards, and most clients try to find ways to minimize the mitigation planting. Really no surprises there, but that's what they do. That's the reality.
But you work to encourage them to have some vegetated buffer, we know that.
I educate them on the importance of vegetated buffers and suggest that it would be beneficial to enhance them.
Good
job.
Good
Nice
response.
job, Mike.
That was the right response.
That's a gold
Gold
star.
star. And I think,
That's on film.
and I think part of what Teresa Sprague proposed on her plans, I think does that.
And we're going to help you do it even more.
Yes. Yes, we are.
So, that all being said, The existing house, which is shown on sheet 1 of the plan set, is proposed to be demolished and rebuilt, and it's going to be shifted somewhat landward slightly. And by doing that, it allows for an opportunity to eliminate some of the impervious surfaces that would increase impervious surfaces from what exists. And the sheet 1 of the plan set goes through the tabulation of what those A and B impervious surfaces are. And the second sheet goes through what the new impervious surface areas are within A and B, and demonstrates that because of reductions in deck sizes, access stairs, driveway areas, there is a net decrease in impervious surfaces in the A zone from 1,845 to 1,747 square feet. And there's a decrease in the B zone from 3,013 square feet to 2,964 square feet. So we were able to accomplish that by moving the building back slightly and eliminating driveway and deck areas and reducing impervious surface areas that were unnecessary on the site. The property also has lawn areas between the house and the wetland. There is an existing wooded buffer, but there are lawn areas that there's an opportunity to enhance and widen the buffers to improve conditions on the property. We are proposing some of those, and I think I'm going to be receiving some feedback on ways that we might want to further do that when I finish my presentation. Other activities on the property include a minor shift in the septic tank. There's an existing septic system that's outside your jurisdiction, and it is adequate for the number of bedrooms in the house, but the septic tank itself, by changing the configuration of the house and shifting it slightly landward, results in a non-compliance with Title V setback, so we're proposing to move that back slightly. There's an existing low-profile wall on the south side of the house that is proposed to be adjusted and shifted over so that access can be gained. This is less than 3 feet in height. There's also a low-profile wall in this location that the applicant would like to rebuild in the same location and adjust some grades so that they have an area that's more usable for their children, slightly flatter, and that's shown on the plan. As always, we're proposing dry wells. You're going to note on the plans before you, I think, that there's a dry well detail, but there's no dry wells shown.
But you'll have time because you're going to come back.
But we happen to discover it today, and we are proposing them, and we will be coming back, so they'll be on the revised plan of record. In doing the redevelopment on this project, there are 2 trees that must be removed, and they're depicted on the plan. And I believe that between what is proposed by Blue Flax design currently and what may be suggested by you, that we may be adequately mitigating the removal of those trees. I think that generally sums up the project. And I'm happy to answer questions about my plans. If there's specifics about the Blue Flax plan, I'm going to have to take notes and defer to Teresa and get them answered before the next hearing.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Jen?
Mike, kind of a silly question. Why are some of the terraces with dash lines and some of them not on your plan? Are you just distinguishing between decks? I saw that on the 44 Falmouth plan. All of a sudden, the patio was a dash line. I don't know if you just used that for at-grade?
Yes.
At-grade structures?
Like patios and things
Okay,
like that.
all right.
Versus
Just,
a wood
it was just
structure.
something that I noticed on the Pondlet plan, and then I looked at this and I noticed the same thing, or vice versa. Okay, the board's going to talk to you about trees. I did talk to Teresa about her plan. We did talk about, maybe allowing the salt marsh to fill in naturally, but give it a more, you okay, Mario?
I'm sorry, there was a mosquito.
Okay. They
Probably
seem to
from
be
Park.
It
following
was
you
left
guys
over,
from
left
Park
over.
Road.
It was a Woods Hole
I
mosquito.
just looked over and he was, so, I understand what she's proposing, and I think that's a good idea. Her and I also discussed planting even more groundsel bushes in that area, so that's fine. They want to get out there, do the work, and she thinks there's going to be room for additional groundsel. So we'll allow for that. You were talking about the grading, Mike, and you said it's on the plan. Is that like east of the lower stone wall?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're just changing a contour from elevation 10 to elevation 8
Yeah, I saw that, okay.
in that one area.
Okay. And that's all I have, Madam Chairman.
Is that it for now?
Yes.
You can have another chance.
Oh, no, I have to check something in the doc file, that's all.
Tommy,
No questions.
Mario.
I'm going to be the skunk at the garden party, Mike. Well, I have a couple of questions. It looks like you're proposing about a 2.5-foot cut in the coastal bank. Is that right? Do I have that right?
We're proposing, in this location, there's a 10-foot contour. We're proposing to lower it to elevation 8 and rebuild the wall that's there.
Well, so we're talking about what, 2.5 feet?
On average 2, but at one point, it's 2.5.
And that's not going to destabilize, I mean, this is a stable coastal bank we're talking about. A cut like that, would that destabilize it?
Well, it would temporarily remove the vegetation, and then it would be reestablished with either plantings or Falmouth-friendly lawn species, and it would be restabilized. So there would be some temporary destabilization.
And that is necessary?
It's not necessary. It's something the applicant wanted you to consider so that they would have an area that was more usable for their family.
Okay.
I'm happy to return to them with concerns, questions about it. If there's concerns, I will discuss it with them.
Just a point of observation there. Now, I do have a problem with the salt marsh delineation and the extent of salt marsh restoration, okay? The area north of your salt marsh restoration, you're calling a beach. It's not a coastal beach, it's an impacted salt marsh. You want to, that's the area we're talking about.
Madam Chairman, I'm not going to disagree with Mr. De Gregorio because it came out in the order of conditions that is in fact the case. So I don't disagree.
Okay, so could you extend that restoration area north?
I could,
over
but
the beach area?
we could, but I did preface my presentation with the fact that there was an alternative plan proposed by Blue Flax Design that was an alternative to what we were proposing. And since I'm not familiar with the specifics of it, it was worked out with Jennifer McKay. I would prefer to delay my comments on it and leave that to Teresa Sprague at the continued hearing. I will make a note of that and ask her about that.
Mario, should have been in your, it would have been in your packet. There's Teresa's thing that came in on last week.
Yeah, you might
Well, this is the area.
suggest in the continued hearing
Yeah. It's the
This-
same
this
that
thing.
needs to
Teresa
come up.
comes,
Oh, yeah,
because
she-
I'd like...
she
I'd
is
like-
coming.
Right, because I'd like to discuss this as well.
She is coming.
Not a good thing.
See this?
Mario,
Sorry?
so this has to be continued anyway?
Yeah.
And Teresa will come, because I'd like to discuss that as well.
Okay.
I mean, I just want to tell you
Mike, you're
that.
gonna need to revise the plan to get rid of that coastal beach.
Yep, understood.
Yeah.
One more thing, Mike.
Yes.
I think the staking in the field for salt marsh is a bit too low. I saw the spring tide rack line up gradient of your staking, and there was about 7 different saline adapted plants within up gradient of where you're calling the salt marsh. So I would have you maybe take another look. I know that you've got the record, by the record water line, that's the highest spring tide line of the year? Is that what I'm?
Well, the record water line is actually the water line that shows on the plan of record referenced in the deed. What we did for salt marsh delineation, which was reviewed on the previous dock application and agreed to, we go by calculated spring tide elevations, that's what DEP suggests, because there's quite often discrepancy. You can have salt marsh plants landward of the edge of the salt marsh.
I understand that yeah.
So what we...
it's a two-pronged test, right? It's the highest spring tide line of the year and a dominance of salt marsh plant species.
Yes, and when there's, I believe the regulations say when there's a disagreement on the precise delineation of the line, to defer to the mathematical calculation of spring tide. So we thought we were being conservative in our delineation of the salt marsh. We can take another look at it. I mean, what are we talking
I'm
about?
Just talking just north of the existing dock.
In this area?
Yeah.
And how much further landward do you think it may be?
I'd say a good 10 feet too low in that area for salt marsh. I saw the spring tide line rack, and I also saw 6 or 7 saline plant species in that area, so
Well,
that would be part of the salt marsh.
Since we are continuing it, we can take a look at that. I'm happy to do that, but I don't think it'll, since it's,
It won't change the project,
Right.
but
for the same reason that it was mentioned before,
Exactly.
it should be a record line.
Right,
and
because you need
I
the-
can talk to Jennifer about it, and maybe we need to make a site visit and verify in that area.
Yep.
We're happy to do that.
Yep.
Well, it just says, Mike, the spring tide means the tide of the greatest amplitude during the approximately 14-day tidal cycle. It occurs at or near the time when the gravitational forces of the sun or moon are in phase. So
That's what a
just
spring
take a
tide
look
is.
at that, go to your new and full moon phases, and just double check that.
And I will also probably defer to a plant expert like Teresa Sprague to look at the vegetation, and if it needs to be, if we agree, we will make an adjustment.
Yeah, and Mario's correct, the highest spring tide of the year, so that's why you have to look at that tidal cycle, and is characterized by plants, so.
Understood.
It is a two-pronged test, so just double check your spring high tide line, which I think is where the issue is, with the delineation on the plan, that's all.
Yep. Fine with that.
Mike?
There is
Any more
a,
questions? Did Mario have anything else?
No.
on the
Did
south
you have
side,
another question?
No, I'm all
No,
set.
no. I didn't think he did.
Oh, okay, I was looking down.
Mike?
just south of the existing deck, there's a really neat little patio, whatever you want to call it.
Right here, this
Yeah, that guy.
trellis, and it's brick. It's
Yeah,
it's
brick.
got a little,
Yeah,
like
I like
arbor
it.
over it, and
Right.
it's a brick surface, yes.
Is that staying or is that going?
That's going. That's part of our credit. That helped us not increase impervious surfaces.
Too bad. That's the end of my question.
Wait, is it now going to Bluestone, Mike, or no?
Some of the area where the brick is today will be bluestone. Some of it is outside of the brick area that'll just be vegetated. So, you know, most of it is proposed to be bluestone, but there is some between south of the wall near the property line that is bluestone that's going to be permanently removed.
I think it's gonna be part of your shower. Yeah, okay.
Courtney?
In general terms, how much of the existing grade are you reconfiguring, raising, lower, or is it going to stay the same?
I'll point to it here. The only grade changes on this property are the same area that Commissioner Di Gregorio had a concern
Yeah,
with.
no, that's what I'm, yeah.
Right there. It is probably an area that's a width of 10 to 15 feet that we're proposing to lower the grade 2 feet.
And what are you doing with what, the material that you removed?
That would be removed off-site.
Okay.
Now, if this is there's two commissioners now that are concerned about this. I had reservations. I understand your concern. And I may raise it with my client. I will raise it with my client.
I have no other questions.
Okay, we'll revisit that when you come back. Michelle?
Well, I have an issue with the tree replacement. I bring this up whenever I see this, but we're losing 2 large oaks and replacing them with serviceberry and black tupelo. Serviceberry in particular is a smaller, well, they're both smaller trees and serve different functions than those large oaks, both root system and crown. I really
Would like to see 2
would
more?
like to see oaks.
At
and
least 2 oaks.
at
It's
least
25
2
inches of oaks that are being removed.
Serviceberry clump is just not gonna do it for me. I don't have any other questions. Other than I share the concerns about the cut on the coastal bank too, so yeah, make that clear.
Understood.
I think he's getting that message. Tomas?
Your bluestone path that's coming from the deck down to the dock. You're
Yes.
ripping out the timbers and crushed gravel, and you're gonna have that. Are there gonna be any risers in there? Is it gonna, you know how they have there will be risers in it?
Yeah, there'll be risers in about the same places as the landscape timbers are.
Okay.
And I'm not sure of the material. It'll be probably some sort of like cobble or stone, but there will be risers
Okay.
to make the grade.
And now, I just want to be clear on I got lines going all over my paper here. What you're calling, I want to be clear on this, regrade lawn area, reconstruct existing stone wall. I'm at a pause to actually call it a wall. I'm being generous at saying an informal grouping of stones. And what you're proposing to put in there is what you have as the cross-section here. That would substantially cut in 3 foot into the bank upland. And that's a substantial structure that's, at best, an informal grouping of stone. It is, I'd be hard pressed to agree that it's a stone wall. I'm not particularly opposed to it, but your cross-section here shows finished grade at the top of the wall. If you do that, and you've only got 3 foot max, I'm just not clear of, this cross-section applies to all the walls that are being proposed.
This is a depiction of a typical type of wall that they intend to use. It may vary somewhat in the type of materials, but yes.
But that's the
This-
crux of it there.
This wall and that wall.
And the one above it where the landscape timbers are coming out as well, correct?
This one?
Yes.
That wall is proposed
Yeah,
as-
remove railroad ties and replace with 3-foot-high stone fence.
Yes, but
Okay.
it's a stone fence, not to be confused with a retaining wall. It's in effect going to be not retaining. It's proposed as a decorative field stone wall, if you will. that might-
Above grade, you're gonna have that.
Above grade, and on grade will
But-
be the same on both sides. There's no alterations proposed in
On the
grade.
grades, I understand that, but you're actually gonna have a wall that's at least 6 feet tall in its.
Oh, because of this
Because of the,
excavation.
because of the excavation.
Let me clarify that. I apologize. This construction detail would be different. It would not have that footing, it would not have that excavation. So if this is to be converted to a stone fence,
Right.
I will change that. And if a decision is made to listen to what I'm hearing about this lower area, this is likely not to be proposed at all. And there'll be some different I could have showed you a detail on that. so-
Yeah, I wanted to be really clear on
Yeah.
that, because I don't mind that on the one coming around the house, I think that's great, because you need to function, you need to be able to go around that. And I just wanted to be clear, the other two areas that were there.
Yeah, I'll make that clear.
And, all set, thank you.
I have a question. Mike?
Just one?
Well, because I had several questions, but various people picked them off. So,
Well, that puts my mind at ease.
so it just has to do with the water line to the, it's a seasonal water line?
Yes. And I showed them on the plan, even though they were described in the previous order, but they have yet to be built. And I just wanted to make it absolutely clear that even though they're not there yet, they still want to have an opportunity to put seasonal water to that.
Okay, so they've been conditioned for the dock.
Yeah, but they haven't, for whatever reason, they've chosen not to install it, and I wanted to give them the right to still be able to do that
Okay,
under this.
so, I mean, do they have a certificate of compliance on the dock?
Negative, because they never did the salt marsh restoration.
Oh.
Was that required before installation of the dock, off the top of your head? I'll find out for
I
the
don't
next
remember.
hearing.
To put the electric and water?
No,
No, the
the
salt marsh
restoration,
restoration.
the restoration of the
Restoration.
salt marsh that was never completed, but the
So,
dock was installed.
Jen, you might just want to make sure that any appropriate conditions for the water and
Yeah.
electric line are in this one as well,
Okay.
when we get to that point. But we're not at that point yet. We're at the point of discussing continuances.
Can I make one more point that I neglected?
You certainly may.
It's minor, and I just wanted to point out, there's a note on the plan, and it's described in the narrative, note number 8, about underground irrigation. I know your policy on new underground irrigation. I wanted to point out that there's existing underground irrigation on this property, and I described to the client that you typically have a standard condition prohibiting permanent underground irrigation. But my understanding is unless it's already in existence, you can continue to use it. So I put a note on the plan, and I described in the narrative, the applicant wishes to continue to use the underground irrigation system that's presently in place. And it's,
When was it installed?
I don't know that answer, but I know there's sprinkler heads scattered up here. There's nothing that I'm aware of down here. It's a boilerplate condition, and I was hopeful that it might not be in the order if we pointed out to you that we already have existing irrigation.
Well, it was good you brought it up.
Yes.
We would hate to find it after the fact,
Yes.
but we might have to do a little bit of research about it. But thanks for bringing it up.
If he's asking for a continuance, he can come in and tell us when it was originally installed.
Yes, I can. I can do
I
that.
would like to know.
Very well put, Gordon.
So,
Succinct and to the point.
I lost my thingy again.
2 weeks?
Mike, how long do you need? I can't find my
I was
paper
hoping
clip.
for the 25th.
That's 2 weeks.
Yes.
But we don't know. We have to,
You can get all your plan changes in by next week and calculate your spring high tide line?
Absolutely.
Okay. And have Teresa calculate, look at her plan and take out her service ferry and put oak?
Yes.
a few oaks.
Okay.
At the request of the applicant, I move that we continue this until September 25th.
Second.
Any further questions or comments or suggestions tonight? Any questions from the audience? Nope. Okay, motion and a second on the table to continue to September 25th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Thank you.
We did. We're wondering why this gentleman. Oh, I'm sorry. We thought maybe you might want to vote in, you were waiting for an order and we'd move that up front. Okay, that's all I needed to know.
That's
Like Mark
exciting.
who? Now I know who you're talking to. It's very exciting. Okay.
And we're not going to ask you what you think at this point. You see, we try to just sort of keep things moving, though, and keep things even. Okay. Continued request for hearings under a notice of intent. Is this just for a DEP number?
DEP
The
number,
State of
yes, and we've
Virginia,
received it. Remember, we
Cook
told
and Dall.
Barbara she didn't have to come?
Oh, yeah, 40 Drift Road, West Falmouth, for permission to upgrade the existing cesspool with a Title V compliant tight tank to replace vegetation if removed and associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. We have a DEP number. Could we have a motion to?
I will move accordingly to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Michelle,
Yes?
I could probably let you go now because we're voting orders of conditions, and I think you missed, did you miss these?
I did. It's exciting.
I did, and I'm
There's a
leaving.
little giggle there, Michelle.
You may leave if you would like. Or you could stay and listen to the discussion.
Mario can leave too, because Mario's not on any of the quorums either.
Oh, Mario.
Oh, wait. Nope, Mario's not any
There are all
on any of
things
the
we had
quorums.
2 weeks ago.
Can I make an announcement before I go?
You may make an announcement.
Unfortunately, I will be leaving this commission in not too long, so it's maybe good to have someone else interested in such a thing. Bought a house in Bourne, so I will no longer be Falmouth resident. So I'm not sure what day will be the last day, but it's coming up.
Well,
We
you
are
will
going
be
to miss
sorely
you
missed. Your
terribly,
expertise
Michelle.
and demeanor and support from all you other members, you will be deeply missed.
Thank you. I will miss you guys too, and all this fun.
But you're certainly always welcome to come and visit.
Oh, yes.
Look out, Bourne, here she comes.
Exactly.
She'll be on the other side of the table.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Oh, you could come in and visit us. Oh, no, you
Madam
can't
Chair.
for 2 years, right? Is that what it is? Is that what it
Year.
is?
1 year,
1 year?
yes.
Vote orders of conditions. Peter and Laura Anicelli, 471 Central Avenue.
Yes, Madam Chairman, this is the,
No, not necessarily, because they started earlier.
no, it's actually the same. Because you all,
Well, they were all closed last 2 weeks ago, then it's the same. But some might have been open before that.
yeah, I have one that Tom wasn't part of, so. So Tommy, Mike, Betsy, Tom, Court. The lovely property off of Central Ave, which you all
this
like.
little project.
The little tiny addition in the back. The only finding and special condition would be the gravel is to be removed around the new structure, because it wasn't particularly clear on Jeff Ryther's plan that they were moving that gravel. Remember, we had to
Yeah, he
ask.
said they were, right, but we
Yes.
have to.
But it wasn't particularly, because they're doing that, they're saying no mitigation is required because they're removing the gravel, but they didn't specifically point out in the plan where they were going to remove it.
Right.
So that needs just to be a finding and a special condition. Other than that, it's very straightforward
And then
project.
they're replacing it with 6 to 8 inches of loam and
Yes.
Falmouth-friendly lawn.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay?
Motion to accept order as discussed.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion on the table, which is to accept this order as discussed, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Raymond and Ann Carlin, 374 Mill Road, Falmouth.
I'm getting there, I'm getting there, I'm getting there. This is the garage
There are other ones that-
in the velocity zone. Tommy, Mike, Betsy, Tom, Court.
That's
I
more
get rid
than,
of the papers.
more than, well, no, it's less than 200 feet more than what's already there.
So this was the breakaway panel discussion where they said
The car is going to be gone if there's a storm
the
coming.
car is going to be gone if there's a storm coming. The board has made, okay, how do I say this? In the past, the board has not allowed garages in a velocity zone because of the concern with having a debris field in the case of a storm event. In this case, I understand the use of breakaway panels, but it's not just going to be the garage, the car in there. There's going to be bikes, kayaks, grills, stuff that's stored in a garage. So when you're making your decision, keep that in mind, that the ability for these walls to actually function could be impaired by the use. It's not something you can regulate. It's not something you can enforce. So that is why you have made the decision in the past not to allow vertical walls in a velocity zone in the case of garages. I'm just telling you what your decisions in the past were and how they were based. You can have your discussion.
Yes?
I'll talk about the elephant in the living room. Technologies 5 years ago were not as much as that. The code has changed and upgraded for building structures. The amount of securing and wind shear and all kinds of good things has quantumly gotten tougher and tougher. I do not have an issue with a breakaway panel as per the building code.
Yeah, but this isn't for wind, this is for water.
And I just said, I have confidence in the structures that I've personally built, the response of the materials involved, in the type of storms that, even though in this area, and I truly believe that this structure would be superior in construction and reaction to storm than other things built around it, because it is meeting a higher performance standard than even 5 years ago.
Yeah, so I'm going to just comment.
Yep.
I don't have any doubt that it would function as it's supposed to function if
If there was nothing in
If
the
there was
garage,
nothing to-
That's not necessarily so. That's where the preconceived function of that storm panel doesn't necessarily mean it has to fold in.
Or
It can
flip
fold
up.
out.
Okay.
It can be, it's not one thing or the other. It's allowing the flow of things. It doesn't mean that it's gonna smack into a car if a car's in there. It doesn't have to be 4 feet tall. It has to be able to take volume and allow the egress of it. It may be one in this corner, they may have one in the opposite corner, so it goes crosswise inside there. It may be at the front and the rear. I don't know the design of it, but
Well,
these things,
I think that's, if we allow this, that's how it has to be conditioned.
well, the building code is gonna dictate even more
Okay, I see what you're
than-
saying, because I always thought when you guys say it flips up to allow the water to go, I thought the whole wall
No,
shifted up.
there's only, some of these are literally
Yeah,
only.
just small, okay.
like the
Is
size
there
of a block.
amount, now, are those sized in accordance with the,
The square footage and the height and all that, that's all
oh, okay,
determined by,
so it's
that's,
not, it doesn't,
that's
it's
determined
not
by an
based on an
engineer.
elevation of the storm or anything like that?
That has an impact on it as
That
well.
has, okay,
Yep.
all right, I see what you're saying, okay.
So the building code would,
Facilitate the measurements that are
Okay.
needed.
that are needed
All right.
to build it in in
That makes-
whatever the site is.
That makes it a lot more,
Yes.
Would also determine the number of them. I mean, in other words, they may say that you must have a certain total number of square inches or feet.
okay,
Right.
And so, depending on how the engineer or the architect wants to draw it, he may have 4 on a wall.
Yeah.
Or, and they'll flip in
Okay.
either direction.
Okay.
To
All right.
allow the flow.
that's a lot more clear than what it's been explained to us
Yeah.
in the past, how
So
they,
And-
it's not likely a
Yeah.
car would get through.
And there's a
Or
lot
well,
more
that's
of
what
this.
we
Get
were always
destroyed
saying,
in
it's
it,
like
it
they
has
were
all that
supposed to
salt water
either
in it.
collapse down or
They better
flip
move
up,
it.
and we're
Yes,
like,
that was something, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. If you want to let your car sit in salt water, shame on you.
no, I understand, well,
that's the
that's
thing.
why we
That's-
brought it up,
that's why.
'cause the way in the
That-
past it's been
absolutely.
explained to us.
Jen and I have seen cars sitting in salt water.
We
I don't doubt
have.
that.
I actually took pictures, and the lady said, "Why are you taking a picture of me?" And I said,
Okay, all right, so That's fine.
The other, I think, of this consideration is that what being proposed is a lot better than the existing structure.
What's there?
Yes.
And
Okay.
So it is, if we were talking about whether a new garage or not, we can have a different kind of debate. But on this particular one,
Right, there's already a structure
there's
there.
already
So then
structure
that
there.
should,
and
that
we're
you
better
should
off-
include,
we're
we'll
better
include
off
that
with
in
what
one
we've
of your
got, so-
findings. It
Yes.
is an improvement over the
I'm-
existing situation. Okay.
Yes.
And despite what Mike's testimony was, this is an expansion. I mean, it's a replacement, but it's an expansion of an already existing structure,
Yep, okay.
Correct.
Okay, that's fine.
okay?
I'll make a motion to approve the order as discussed.
Second.
Any further comment? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved.
Remember anything.
57 LSD Realty Trust, 57 Lakeshore Drive, East Falmouth.
I just got the LSD reference.
Well, me too. I kept thinking, why would they
They
call
call
it
it
LSD?
LSD.
And then I'm like, well, maybe it's their initials. You know, Larry Samuel Donovan or something. And I'm like, oh, Lakeshore Drive. I just got it too.
This is the one where they wanted to, Tommy, Mike, Betsy, Court, Tom. It's the one where they wanted to put the little proposed deck and then redo the staircase. Remember the staircase, the
Right,
rickety
with the
little
pipe,
staircase, the pipe, and.
Well, the staircase isn't all that rickety, but the pipe,
Oh, that, yeah,
the pipe
was,
railing
yeah.
is really rickety.
That's right. So, I mean, the proposed deck, the restoration, the mitigation, not a problem. You guys wanted a detailed methodology regarding the maintenance of that stairway.
Yes.
And any excavation, would have to
Necessary.
come back to you.
Yeah, any,
Yeah.
right.
Then, did they say anything about taking the debris at the bottom out, or no? Where they had that, in the water itself, there was a
You can-
set of
you
We
can
rollers.
said
have-
that we would,
Condition
we
it.
wanted,
Okay. All right.
Can we condition that? And moving that out might could do more damage than good.
That has to get out of there. That's
Has to
just,
get out of there.
yeah, that's just something that really shouldn't be
It's
down
not
at the
safe for
water.
swimming.
Nah, you know, that's
swimming
just,
or boating.
nah. You know, even, poo-poo needs to get out.
Okay.
Accept the order as discussed. Motion for that.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Donovan, that must be why Donovan came up for a last name. Peter Donovan, 7 Hamlin Point Road, Wood.
Susan's scaring me over here. You weren't even done. She's like, quorum. Working on it. You're making me nervous.
Courtney's job.
What's that, what to say?
Make sure it's quorum. We want her badgered on either
7,
side.
Tommy, Mike, Betsy, Tom Courts. Yeah, this is the vacant lot off of Hamlin Ave, maintaining all the setbacks. It's got 10 feet from the limit of work. We shifted the house forward towards the road. You had to put additional
Didn't have
trees
our
on the,
issues. It had issues on right-of-ways. That was why all the lawyers were here.
added the fence and note to protect the trees, and added the cedars because the board wanted some mitigation for the trees that are being removed in the buffer zone B to the BVW, and coastal bank.
And they're planting all the A zone will be planted.
It's a vacant lot right now. Vacant lot.
Isn't
So
this the
they
one
are
with the
staying outside
dog
of
leg?
the A zone will be
Oh, this
undisturbed.
isn't the dog leg.
This is out in McCoy.
No, this is not the dog leg. You've already voted the dog leg.
Oh.
McCoy, Hamlin Road.
Hamlin and McCoy.
There was boat trailers packed
Remember,
up
Mike,
there.
you, the really thick
All right,
site,
with the boat trailer. No, I got it.
Yeah.
Bunch of blueberries.
Yep, no, I got it.
the
As opposed to
site where you
porcelain
said was
Yes.
really thick and,
Yep.
yep. I'll just put your regular standard conditions on. Pretty much the plan addressed any of the concerns the
buffer?
board or the staff had.
Is this
Oh,
the,
it's on B right here.
no, the A. Is this the A?
Yes.
The A is staying undisturbed.
Yeah, I think we should, to be consistent with these, there should be a permanent,
Little rail
Markers.
fence. Okay.
well, I like a rail fence. I don't think we should
Well, I've
require
seen
people to have a
them-
rail fence,
Well,
but
I've seen them like really, they're low.
Yeah.
They're not huge. They're like literally 1 rung, 2 rungs off the ground. They stand about that high.
yeah.
But,
But
or a rail or
they need to
permanent
have a
marker.
permanent,
Got it. Yeah, I'm
and,
doing.
Marker,
Yeah.
yeah.
delineation.
I know what you guys need. Okay.
They are putting a split rail fence in front of the limit of work. That was
Yeah.
one of their,
Oh, they are?
yeah,
Yeah.
right here,
That was one of the things.
in front of the limit.
Oh, then they don't,
You don't need two.
I don't think they need two.
Oh, God, we're not gonna have them put 2.
Yeah.
No, just
Oh,
one.
okay.
They can choose, they can do a split rail fence, they can do the permanent markers.
No, but they already have a split rail fence.
That's being proposed.
That's being proposed.
In front of the limit of work by
Yeah, so
about.
that's fine.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Move to accept the plan as discussed.
Second.
Why do I have
Wait a
6
second.
copies of the plan?
What's your question?
It's just that the fence has the condition, just because it's there, we want it permanently there, so the damn thing isn't disappear.
Well,
months,
yeah,
a month
you're
from-
going to condition it.
Oh, there you go, all right.
I mean, I would suggest they
Mike,
move it
can-
to,
oh.
they move it a couple of feet to delineate the,
I'd let the lay of the land stay here, that's more conservative. In front of the zone.
well, why did they have a limit
That's-
of work to them?
The limit of work is here, they're just coming in from the
Oh,
side.
they're just putting inside, all right.
Yep.
Did we vote this?
Not yet.
Okay. Let's have a motion.
We did, and a second.
Motion is second on the table to accept the order as discussed. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, unanimous, so moved. Clive Gummel, 45 Sunset Point Road.
This was Barbara's project to restore the plantings. You approved the plantings to be installed by the RDA so the people could, don't laugh at me. Mario, Mike, Betsy, Tom, Michelle. Michelle's not here, so Mario, Mike, Betsy, and Tom.
Mario's in.
Oh, we needed a DEP number. So,
Well, good thing Mario stayed, so.
no, so Mario's not, shouldn't be here.
We have a quorum.
We had a DEP number and we just closed it.
All right,
We didn't take any testimony last week.
all
It
right,
was just the DEP number and we
Right.
moved on.
right, okay. So
So-
Mario votes.
Yes.
And the
'Cause you sent
conditions are
Michelle
the
home.
normal conditions to,
Yes, you allowed the plantings to be installed under the RDA so they could receive a certificate, so we could get them installed.
Yes.
They're going to receive a certificate of compliance. The requirement was to file this notice so that you could attach a monitoring plan to the plantings and ensure their survival.
and they have to remove, part of the notice was to remove the illegal
And to
gravel
remove
that
the
was put in.
illegal gravel that is
And
around,
lawn and-
the unpermitted gravel around the structure.
Right.
Correct.
Yes.
And all
This
the,
is what Barbara and I came up with to get the plants in the ground so they could get the title transferred
right,
and the new owner can take ownership of the mitigation plantings.
right, and replant
Yes.
and all the conditions that go with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Motion?
To accept the order as discussed.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Henry and Martha Lartigue, 167 Fay Road.
Yes, this
Quorum?
is to Tommy, Mike, Betsy Court. This is to install the irrigation well,
Oh,
to install the well,
we already know, this is 3-1 vote.
to allow for the irrigation of the
Right.
mitigation plantings.
Right. The only,
I'll make a motion to approve the project as discussed.
Well, it would be installing the well, installing the irrigation.
Right,
They
Yeah.
filed the amendment to do that.
right. And we all know that
We all
Courtney's
went
going to
through
vote
the-
against it.
But I've made the motion to approve it.
Correct.
that's fine, we know what you're
I'll
doing.
second that motion.
Now we have a motion and a second on the table. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All,
How many said aye?
3 ayes.
Three.
You're not on this one.
Oh,
Courtney's against it.
Opposed, for the record.
Okay.
Who'd like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, before, do we have to address this?
No.
Okay, that's it.
A motion to adjourn.
Next week, Tom.
Adjournment isn't on
2
our
weeks,
agenda.
actually,
So we
in 2
can't
weeks.
adjourn.
We can't adjourn?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved.
Sorry.
We just didn't want you to sit here